up, everybody? Welcome to Cinemaholics. My name is Ryan Gordon, and I am a Cinemaholic.
What's up, everybody? My name is Spencer Henderson, and I as well am a Cinemaholic.
We're super excited for the show today. We've got a lot to talk about. We're hoping that a lot of people are going to be checking out today live, specifically because we are going to be doing the Blu-ray giveaway, 2 Blu-ray giveaways. Let me mute my phone. So Spencer's going to be talking about that a little bit later. To start off, you may have noticed our new channel art, as well as our cool new lower thirds doohickeys. This is all thanks to Cody Buckner. Right here is his Instagram page. He is the artist that helped us out with all of this stuff. He is phenomenal. He's just an awesome dude. I've really appreciated and loved working with him on this. And he's a good collaborator. So I wanted to give him a huge shout out and a huge thank you. Follow him on Instagram. It's Cody_Buckner. It's right there at the top. Again, he did all the channel art, these cool little pictures right here, as well as our banner and stuff and our logo. So give him a follow there as well. Another thing on my thing was in the description below. After we publish this video, after the live stream, we will have the timestamps listed if you want to fast forward or rewind and just specifically watch a watch list, or if you haven't seen Nocturnal Animals yet and you want to watch the episode up until then, go see Nocturnal Animals, come back, then you can just fast forward to that point and just watch that section of the review. As well, we do have an audio-only podcast on iTunes, which will be in the description below, which as well has those cool little timestamps and our cool theme song. I think that's all that I had announcement-wise. So today we are going to be going briefly over our watch list, and then we're going to get into 2 indie movies that came out this week that are awesome, and I'm excited to talk about. First off, we're going to be doing Nocturnal Animals, and then we'll be getting into Loving. Both could possibly have Oscar potential. We'll talk about it soon. But to start us off, I'm going to have Spencer talk about his watch list. So, Spencer, what have you been watching?
Well, the first thing, actually, before we get into the watch list that I want to say, I also want to give Cody Buckner a shout out. That's my animated me. And I was talking to Ryan before we started the show. It's pretty surreal to see an animated version of yourself, but it's also super, super cool. And he did a fantastic job. So give him a follow on Twitter. But here comes another thing for you guys. And this is a little intervention, actually, to a lot of you. So I'm going to get you guys to comment on these videos if it's the last thing I do. There are a couple of our subscribers that I think are doing a very good job and keeping up with the feedback. But this is a community, guys. We want to know what you guys thought of the movie as well. We also want feedback on our videos to know how we're doing, to know like how sexy our voices sound, whatever. Like whatever you guys want to say to us, you can say. Because there's 2 things that me and Ryan are good at. One is being handsome, charming, charismatic individuals, and the second is talking about movies. So that being said, let's talk about a couple movies and let me get into my watch list. So the first movie, actually movies I'm going to be talking about, and I'm only going to put up the one poster, but it's Before Sunrise and Before Sunset. I've not yet caught Before Midnight, but these are the films by Richard Linklater, who had directed Boyhood, who directed Dazed and Confused. And this year he directed a movie that will be in my top 10. It's called Everybody Wants Some. And that's probably just the most like I've enjoyed a movie so far this year, just like pure enjoyment. I had so much fun with that movie. And Before Sunrise and Before Sunset are amazing films. We're talking about indies this week, and I think this fits in just perfectly with it because really these are 2 very like small, restrained films. They're basically all just conversations between these 2 characters, and it's truly an amazing cinematic achievement because what we do is the first film was made in 1994, and then the second film was made 9 years later, and it just picks up 9 years afterwards where these characters left off. I won't get into spoilers about where their relationship is or whatever, but One thing throughout Richard Linklater's films is the theme of time and the passing of time. Boyhood is another movie that does that. And even Dazed and Confused 2, Everybody Wants Some. He really kind of plays with time in a way that I've never seen a filmmaker do. And the performances in this movie are outstanding. They are so good. They're so natural. And that's something that I always have to say about Richard Linklater's films, are that they feel natural. Now, I want to watch the third movie before I score this, because I'm just going to score this actually as a trilogy. So I'll get back to you guys on what I think next week. But so far, it's looking really, really good for these. Ryan, have you seen these movies?
No, and I don't think I've even heard of them. But like you said, with Richard Linklater, he's really good at that. And I hadn't seen any of his films until I saw Boyhood. And then I've been researching some of them. So this is definitely one that I want to put on my watch list, and I'm definitely going to check out, because he does do that really well. And I think like it all culminated up to Boyhood, that was like this monumental feat that was so cool that he was able to do.
Absolutely. I totally agree with everything Ryan just said. So check out Before Sunrise, Before Sunset. They're actually on Amazon Prime right now. Before Midnight is not. And but it is available to rent, and I plan on getting around to watching it. Great movies, especially if you're kind of like into indies, just small scale restrained movies. And so the next film I'm going to be talking about actually is a documentary on Netflix. It's called The White Helmets, and it tells the story of a group of civilians in Syria that's actually going on right now during these airstrikes and these horrible atrocities that are happening to these Syrian people. There's a group of people who are citizens of this country who have decided to put their own lives at risk to protect the citizens and the dignity of humanity. This is such a powerful experience. I really found myself floored and moved by this movie. It's only 40 minutes, which is also kind of a gripe I had. I kind of wish that it would be a little bit longer and get a little bit more into it. I feel like they must have been rushed or something, because 40 minutes of material seems a little bit short. That being said, there's some really heavy stuff that goes on in this. Really sad story. And the thing about it that's really sad is the fact that this goes on every single day. Something like this happens, every hour. This is just a normal thing to these people. And so seeing that is a really just kind of like sobering experience, in my opinion. And this movie gives a lot of insight to kind of like the human side of this whole entire issue. Yeah, I just really found this movie affecting. I would give this an 8.75 out of 10. Really good. Have you heard of this at all, Ryan?
No. My only real comments on it are, it sounds intriguing and impactful. Netflix has done really well at documentaries and tackling these small things, and it's definitely been something that's increased this year, and I feel like that's become the new platform for documentaries and for need-to-know subjects like this. So if you are interested in that stuff, definitely, just keep an eye out on Netflix, because there's a ton of deep stuff there.
Absolutely. And I think that's going to wrap it up for my watch list. So Ryan, what is on your watch list this week?
Awesome. So I have had a very busy week with Thanksgiving and stuff, and my watch list is very scarce. So I've only got one thing on my watch list. I'll start off just by talking about Rules Don't Apply. I did catch it this week. I don't have much to say about it. It exists. It's there. I acknowledge it. I didn't hate it. I definitely didn't hate it as much as I didn't like Allied. I walked out of it, and right as I walked out, somebody asked me what I thought, and I just went, meh. The main reason I did want to see this was because I can't pronounce his name. Alden.
It's Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden Ehrenreich. He's obviously, he's a big deal right now. He's going to be the new Han Solo in the Han Solo spin-off film coming out by Lucasfilm here soon. So I was interested to see him. I saw him in Hail Caesar, and Hail Caesar was similar. I walked out of it going meh. You know, for a Coen Brothers movie, I was underwhelmed, and but his performance I really did like in that, and so this one was the next one that I'd seen. Likewise, Lily Collins is in it. Megan Hilty pops in it for a little bit. It's good. Catch it on Netflix, catch it on Redbox. It's definitely not one I would say, and obviously a lot of people agree because it made under $1 million or something in the Thanksgiving weekend box office. So it underperformed a ton. I guess there's not much of a market out there for it. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 10. Catch it if you see it. That's all I've got about that. Go ahead and write in the comments, like he said. I'm watching the live stream right now, and I'm keeping an eye on the comments. So if you guys have been watching some stuff, throw it down there. Let us know what you've been watching, and we can start a discussion on that stuff. But at this point, Spencer, do you want to give them a little bit of information on the Blu-ray giveaway?
I sure do. I sure do, Ryan. So basically what I want to start off by saying, I think Ryan touched on this at the beginning of the episode, is do not comment your answer into the live stream. But essentially how we are going to be doing this is we are going to set it up where we have 2 questions that we're going to ask for each of the Blu-rays we're giving away. And speaking of the Blu-rays, let me go ahead and show you what we got here. The first one we got is Eddie the Eagle. This was a biopic that came out earlier this year about a Olympic skier, jumper. And it starred Taron Egerton, who was also in Kingsman: The Secret Service, and Hugh Jackman. It's a feel-good movie and really, really entertaining. I liked it a lot. Ryan, did you see Eddie the Eagle?
Yeah, I did. I got to go to a screening of it, and I took my mom, and we both really, really liked it. It succeeded my expectations.
Okay, and then the next movie we have here is Kubo and the Two Strings. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I believe it was in our Arrival and Moonlight review, and both me and Ryan agreed that this is one of the best animated movies of the year. It still is my pick of the best animated movie of the year, and this movie is just fantastic. So that being said, let me give you guys the prompts. So for Kubo and the Two Strings, if you are interested in getting this Blu-ray, then the question that we have for you is the best animated film of all time. What do you think the best animated film of all time is? And just so you know what we're expecting from answers, we want something like funny, insightful, just an answer that you think will catch our eye, and me and Ryan are going to decide before Tuesday for both of these. So comment on the video if you're interested in Kubo and the Two Strings. What is the best animated movie of all time? Now, if you're interested in winning Eddie the Eagle, then our question for you is the best coming of age movie. So same thing, comment in the section. And you know, if you want to comment both to enter for the chance to win both, then go ahead and do it. We will look at both of your answers. We might not choose you for both, but so let's get competitive.
But it increases your odds because
it does,
if you're entering in both, you know, might as well do it.
So yeah, go ahead and comment, as I said, down below. Let us know what you thought. Try to be as creative as possible. And yeah, good luck to you all. It's the Hunger Games, so nobody's safe. Everybody's your enemy. That being said, I think that's about it. As far as all of our announcements, you don't have any like breaking film news or anything, do you, Ryan?
No, nothing yet. I do want to comment on some of the people. There's been some people in the chat talking right now. So Tuesdays with TK. TK is my bro. He's been commenting a lot. He says he likes the lower thirds. So thank you, TK. He did ask a question about the comment or the chat. Go ahead and chat like you're doing now. And then once it's over, go ahead and just leave a comment with your answers. And that's what we're going to be considering for the Blu-ray. All of that aside, I'm going to introduce our first movie that we're talking about today. It's going to be Nocturnal Animals. If I can get the right graphic. bam, Nocturnal Animals. And I don't want to tell you too much about this film because this is one of the films that you need to go into not knowing much about it. There have been some all right trailers going around, but if you trust us enough to take our word on it, if you go see it or not, I would suggest doing that rather than seeking out trailers. I'm not even going to read the synopsis because I feel like the synopsis goes into territory that would make this a less enjoyable experience going into the movie. So I want to start off. This is one of Tom Ford's movies. This is his second directorial movie. And so I haven't seen his first one, but Spencer has. Go ahead and tell us your thoughts on his first movie, The Single Man. I think that's what it was called.
It's called A Single Man, and sorry, never learned to speak. It stars Colin Firth, who you may know from The King's Speech and Kingsman, The Secret Service, 2 movies with the name King in it. Weird. But anyways, yeah, it tells the story of a homosexual man who has recently lost his partner. And man, that movie floored me. I loved it so much. I thought A Single Man was fantastic. It showed a ton of promise. Tom Ford is actually a fashion designer on the side. And he just also directs really, really good movies, which is just crazy. So yeah, but Colin Firth was nominated for an Oscar for A Single Man. I believe it was nominated for Best Picture. I might be mistaken there. I don't think it's up at the top of LGBT movies, up where, something like Moonlight this year or Brokeback Mountain is, but it still is a really, really solid movie about grief and loss with a really, really strong performance at the center of it. So I'm a fan of Tom Ford going into this movie before.
Awesome. So that being said, do you feel this one has Oscar potential? What are your thoughts? Give us the rundown.
So this is going to be an extremely hard movie to process on just one viewing. I want to start off by saying there are so many layers to this movie. It's like an onion. You can just peel back so many things with it. What I will say is we had a funny little back and forth, me and Ryan, about the opening credits of this movie on Twitter. We also had it with a friend of the show, Jace Hughes, and we got a little bit into details on the opening credit sequence, which I won't, just in case you want to see this movie. But at the opening credit sequence of this movie, I was like, oh, this is an art film, way artsy. And I was so nervous from that opening credit sequence. It came off super pretentious. I was not into what I was seeing, but this is an excellent revenge tale. This is an extremely, extremely dark movie. It's filled with tons of uncomfortable scenes in it, basically throughout the entire movie. It's extremely bleak. That's probably my biggest complaint about this movie, is I don't think it has much of an emotional anchor. Whereas his first film, A Single Man, it's all about emotion. And this movie, we're dealing with some pretty detached characters from, at least they're detached from me. I did not really relate to this. And so let me segue with that into the performances. This is probably the best Amy Adams has been. It's certainly the most unlikable I feel like she's been. She plays a performance that she's never really played before. Because in something like Arrival, it's a character that you're able to relate to and understand. This movie, there are aspects of her that bring a human side to the character, but really didn't love her in this movie. I liked her performance, but as a character, wow. The standout in this movie, the obvious standout, and I wonder if that's why you chose the poster you did, is Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon might win the Oscar for this movie. This is probably the second best he's ever been behind Take Shelter. I still think he might be better in Take Shelter, but my goodness, every scene that guy is on screen, he eats up the screen. Last thing I want to say about this movie, without getting into too many spoilers at all, the structure of this movie is great. I think this has potential to be nominated for screenplay, possibly some acting awards as well. Jake Gyllenhaal, as always, is fantastic in this movie. And really, he has to do some pretty difficult, interesting things with his performance as well. I don't know if he will be nominated. I wouldn't be upset at all if he was nominated. So overall, I like this movie, but like I said, it's a little bit bleak. A little bit bleak. What'd you think of it, Ryan?
I can definitely agree with everything you've said. I didn't know what to think walking out of it. Um, Michael Shannon, let me just say, I have been a huge fan of him, especially as of late. Last June, I got to go to New York and I got to see him act live in Long Day's Journey into Night, and he killed it. He crushed it. And then he came out in Midnight Special. He came out in, I mean, we'll probably talk about that a little bit. We'll definitely talk about Loving. He's in Loving. He's been, I looked it up on IMDb. He's been in like 11 or 12 movies this year, and he's crushing it. Definitely the highlight of the film. I loved the structure and the pacing of the film. I agree with what you said. There was it was bleak and not in an inviting way. Sometimes you get into some of these Oscar or these artsy movies, and they are bleak in a way that it's totally enthralling you. The thing that kept me intrigued the whole time was the pacing and the dialogue. Like you said, I think it'll probably be nominated for screenplay, because the pacing of the script and the dialogue and the delivery was just so on point. There's specific scenes that kind of draw out, and there's not much to the scene, but there's enough to keep going where a scene will last maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and it just keeps going on and going on. And normally I would have checked out and I would have been out of it. But what they were able to do in this with the suspense, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I wanted to know what was coming next. Now I have to make a confession. This has nothing, well, I guess this does have a lot to do with Nocturnal Animals, but rewinding, I missed the review when you talked about Keeping Up with the Joneses.
Oh.
My admission with that was I went and I saw Keeping Up with the Joneses, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, no kidding. You didn't. Wait, Ryan, let me get this straight. You did not like Keeping Up with the Joneses?
This has something to do with something that matters in life. Don't worry.
Okay.
Keeping Up with the Joneses was garbage. I went through all the trailers, all the advertisements, the whole movie the next day, and I was talking to my friend Steven about it when we were working, and I was like, man, this is the worst performance by Amy Adams I've ever seen in a movie. And then he's like, Amy Adams isn't in that movie. I was like, what the? So I went and I ran, and it's Isla Fisher. Yep. And I thought it was Amy Adams the whole time. So this is relevant because I watched this whole movie, and the most into spoilers I'll get is that there's 2 timelines going on at once. I thought Amy Adams was playing characters in both timelines the whole movie. And then the credits roll, and I was like, wait a minute. They have Jake Gyllenhaal as 2 people, but Amy Adams isn't 2 people. Like, my mind is blown. Why? And so I thought about that the whole drive home, and I sat down, and I'm not going to let you read this, but I sat down and did a bunch of notes about the movie, and I was thinking it through, and I was like, the biggest thing I was hung up on was I thought that in the credits they were giving us a hint that Amy Adams wasn't 2 people. I got in the shower, I got out, and I looked it up on IMDb, and I was like, effing Isla Fisher. What the heck? She looks just like Amy Adams.
She really does.
And that's just a random story, but thinking back on it now, what Amy Adams was able to do in her character, it kind of had thrown me off, because I was like, in specific scenes, she's really good. But in some scenes, I was like, I'm not 100% by
what happened. That being said, we were getting around to scoring Nocturnal Animals, and I believe, Ryan, you were wrapping up your thoughts. We were talking about the structure of the film. You showed us your picture, and then everything went to shit. So what were you trying to say, wrapping up your thoughts for Nocturnal Animals?
Right. Okay. So just a really quick summary. I don't have the pictures anymore because the stream crashed. I'm going to rate it an 8.75. I really liked it. I've been talking to a lot of people and I compared it to Arrival. I feel like they are both high caliber films. The reason I ended up scoring Arrival a 9.25, the reason I'm giving this an 8.75 instead of that 9.25 is I can see how controversial and how split it'll be. This is definitely going to be a movie that people don't like as much as people do like it. And I was one of the people that loved it, and it sounds like you loved it too. So 8.75, know what it is when you go into it. Take our word, it's something that you should see. That being said, it is rated R for a reason, and you're gonna get some hard stuff that you're watching, some brutal stuff. It's very Hitchcockian. It shows you what it wants you to know. So 8.75 for me. What did you give it, Spencer?
I am going to give this film an 8.5. I think that this movie does so many interesting things that I almost have to review it. As I said, I feel this movie lacks a proper emotional core. I really, as I said, did not really relate to anybody. But that being said, you don't always have to relate to somebody on screen. Sometimes it's cool to just be a fly on a wall and watch crazy stuff go down. And this movie is definitely one of those films where crazy stuff does indeed go down. So that being said, I think that is going to lead us into our next film, which is Loving. This is a film directed by Jeff Nichols, who you may have heard of. He did Shotgun Stories, Take Shelter, Mud, and now Midnight Special, which came out earlier this year, and also featured Michael Shannon, who, as you said, is just in everything. I sat there when you said that he's been in like 6 or 12 movies. Did you say 12?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was like 11 or 12 or something like that had the release date slated for 2016.
Okay, yeah, because I know I can think of a couple off the top of my head, but yes, he was in Midnight Special earlier this year, which was also directed by Jeff Nichols. But let's get into Loving, which tells the story of Richard and Mildred Loving, an interracial couple whose challenge of their anti-miscegenation arrest for their marriage in Virginia led to a legal battle that would end at the U.S. Supreme Court. So Ryan, what did you think of Loving?
I really enjoyed this movie. I am a huge fan of Jeff Nichols, like you were saying, some of his awesome things. I have not seen Midnight Special all the way through. On my way back from New York, I caught a little bit of it on the plane, and I wasn't as enthralled. And I've heard that kind of word of mouth about Midnight Special that it wasn't as good. That being said, I loved Mud. Mud was awesome, and I'm a sucker for coming of age films, and I feel like that was a really good one. The cast of Mud is phenomenal. This movie specifically, though, I really enjoyed. I knew what I was getting into when I watched this, and so I could kind of just set back and let it wash over me. It's a biopic. It's complete Oscar bait, for good reason. I came out of it and I was texting a friend afterward, and he asked me what I thought. Excuse me. And I could see this getting nominations for all the big Oscars. I could see it being nominated for Best Picture, for Best Actor, for Best Actress, for Best Screenplay, and for Best Directing. It is a all-around great film. The direction is what stood out to me the most, besides Joel Edgerton, who has been on point lately. The Gift he wrote, directed, and starred in. This I didn't, I knew it was him because I had seen all the advertisements and stuff, but at the same time, it took me back because he looks different. He looks like what I wish Johnny Depp had looked like in Black Mass. Johnny Depp does the makeup thing, and it often more times than not takes you out of it, and it's like, oh look, it's Johnny Depp in makeup. This worked. I recognized it was him, but at the same time, I totally forgot it was him, and I was swept up into his character. The character arcs are great. You know, I could sit here and I could tell you all these great things about it. The one down thing for me was at times it felt a little slow. And there were times where my mind started to wander a little bit, but that being said, when I acknowledged that my mind was wandering, something happened on screen that got me back into it. And so it's not a huge setback. Great film. What did you think?
I love this movie. I love this movie. Okay. The title for it is perfect. I want to say their last name, Divine Intervention, maybe. Who knows? This is one of the best films of the year, hands down, without question, in my opinion. If it's not nominated for Best Picture, if these two lead performances are not nominated for Oscars, I'm gonna riot in the streets, people. I'm telling you right now, I will be out protesting the Oscars. And the thing that sells this movie so much is how restrained of a movie it is. This is so restrained. And Jeff Nichols is always a restrained director, but I feel like more so than usual here. One thing I noticed in this movie is neither of these characters, like at any point in the movie, raise their voice at all. They always take a very calm, collected approach to each problem that they run into, and they do run into a lot in this movie. And I think a lot of that has to, or it speaks volumes about Jeff Nichols' direction. His direction here is so good. Everything he has, the actors and the acting choices that these actors make are just amazing throughout the entire film. Joel Edgerton might be the best he's ever been here. He is so good in this movie. Such a powerful performance. Just every single scene he was in, I was totally invested in what he was saying. He's the type of character that doesn't say a lot, so you listen to what he has to say. And he says things very simply, which I think might turn some people off. It doesn't have the big speech at the end of the movie, you know, where he says, "I love you because you're the moon and the stars to my universe," or some stupid quote like that. He just says like what he thinks and what is on his mind. And that's something that I really appreciate about this movie. Ruth Negga, who plays Mildred Loving, should win the Oscar, in my opinion. She is so good in this movie. She is a performer with her eyes, like all of the best performers, in my opinion, are. You can see what she's thinking, and she shows emotion very, very well. There's a quote at the end of this movie from the real Mildred Loving that just like tore my heart out and like held it in front of my face while it was beating. This movie is so good. I would recommend this to every single person I can think of. I think everybody should watch this. I hope this gets Oscar attention. This movie is amazing. I was a huge, huge fan.
Awesome. So I'll go ahead and score it, and then we'll get over to your score. I'm giving it an 8.5. Like I said, it was a phenomenal movie, and it's definitely going to get Oscar buzz, and it's going to get some nominations. It was great. Like I said, there were a few moments that it didn't quite land with me, and it was a little, you know, my mind wandered a little bit. But if that's all the gripes that I have, I mean, it delivered with what it needed to deliver on. Like you said, I like that you said he was a very restrained director, and that really comes across because he knows what he wants to tell you and show you, and it's delivered really well. Just didn't stick with me as much as I hoped it did.
Well, it did stick with me a ton, guys. I think I like this one more than Ryan. I'm giving this a 9.5 out of 10. As I said, this is one of the best movies of the year. If this is not my top 10, then December has some crazy stuff in store for us. And I think that this movie just goes on to continue the amazing month of November and like all of the cinematic splendors we have like received. And as well as just the indie movies this year have been crazy. Like they've been so good. It's been wild to be like a movie lover this year, because on the blockbuster side of things, we have, you know, things like Batman versus Superman and Independence Day Resurgence. But here we get movies like this with actual real meaning and importance. So I really, really love this movie so much. That being said, I think that about wraps up. Do you have anything else you want to add, Ryan?
Yeah. So I want to talk about the giveaway really quick. Because what we're going to have to do with this video is we're going to have to take the old video, and then we're going to have to take this video, and we're going to merge them together, and it's going to create a new video. So all the things still apply that we said earlier. Just wait on your responses. Go ahead and come back in an hour or two, because it's going to have to, YouTube takes a while to process the new video with the edits. So in an hour, go ahead and check back and we'll definitely tweet it out and post it on Facebook, the new link for the video that you will put your comment on, because the live chat doesn't transfer over to comments. So anything that's on those live chats will disappear once we go ahead and end the broadcast and start the publishing. Like we were saying, once it's all done, it'll all work out. We apologize that happened. I'm going to do a lot more research into what's going on. It's a new mic that I've got, so I might just have a bug with what's going on. But thank you for watching and sticking with us. If you want and you don't hate me too much, you can follow me here at @Rye_Gordon on Twitter and on Instagram. Spencer, any last comments?
Well, yeah, I just want to add to what Ryan said. Don't hate Ryan, guys. Don't hate his microphone. The microphone sounds great when it works, and it's something that we did, and it very well could have been the thousands of viewers who are tuned into this podcast and commenting. I did see a very active conversation in the live chat, and that's so cool, guys. That's awesome that people are participating. If anybody did comment on this previous video, me and Ryan will take a screenshot of those comments and put those into our consideration as well. But like we said, try to hold off to comment on those. It will take a couple hours to process. We will be ending the whole entire giveaway on Tuesday at 5 o'clock. That's when we will select our 2 winners for this contest. So we will be contacting the people through the comments, getting email information or whatever, and then I will mail the Blu-rays to whoever the winners are. So I don't think I have anything else to add. When we get this whole video put together, if you guys want to share it, it'll help us out a ton. We appreciate this little community we got going. And make sure that you guys comment into the comments, because we love to hear what you guys think about these movies as well. And especially with something like Nocturnal Animals or Loving, give us your feedback. Tell us what you thought of the movie. If you put spoilers in, put spoiler tags in or whatever. But let us know what you think about it. And you can follow me on Twitter at SpinnyHend as well. Ryan, do you have anything else to add before we end the show?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks again. And next week, if you'll forgive us enough, we'll have all the bugs fixed and we'll be back hopefully at the same time without any errors, Sunday at 8. And we will be doing a Christmas special. So we're going to be talking about some of our favorite Christmas movies that we like to watch around this time of year, and hopefully give you guys some suggestions of some fun ones that you can watch this Christmas season in order to get ready, because the next 2 weeks aren't necessarily pumped full of wide release movies. And so it's a perfect time for us to hop on that. So thank you again. We hope to see you next week with a Christmas special. Until then, bye.